You. Yo, what up guys? So we just got to the beach and it is cold. It's like 42 degrees Fahrenheit or 5.5 Celsius right now. And it seemed like a good day to do a video on how to pick a wetsuit by the temperature you're gonna be riding in. So we'll cover the different thicknesses, the different styles, how you can layer up, and things that you can use underneath your wetsuit, like this hood vest that I'm gonna be wearing under my 5'4" today. I was actually gonna go out in a 6'5" because it's so cold, but just found a fresh hole in my 6'5", so that's no good. We're gonna do the 5'4" with some layers. But we'll cover things that you can do to maximize whatever suit you have or work within your budget to stay warm out there and what you can expect. So in this video, we'll keep it kind of simple. We'll just break down how to pick a wetsuit by the temperature that you're going to be riding in, and then what are some of the things that you're going to be dealing with, especially when it comes to flexibility and the different ranges of suits. So yeah, we're going to get on the water, test some new kites, and then we'll head back to the house and I'll break this one down for you. So if you're that rider who's going out in the winter or super cold water, that would be like 5.5 Celsius or 42 degrees Fahrenheit for those of us in the US. I would recommend getting a 6'5" with a hood built in as well. And something like this right here with a built-in hood. You're absolutely gonna need a wetsuit that has like tape seals and seams. Ideally a front zip. So these can come with a back zip or a front zip. Back zips are a lot easier to get on, but the front zip, you're gonna get a lot less water in the suit and it's gonna be a lot warmer. But a hood, boots, gloves, all of that is necessary to go out in these kind of temperatures. And this is going to be a really kind of a rigid suit. So like, wetsuits have come a long way in the last few years. They've gotten a lot more flexible, but getting this on can be a bit of work, and then you're definitely gonna have like some restriction when you're moving in a suit like this. And having a wetsuit like this is super nice on those really cold winter days, those cold fall days where you wanna get out and it's just like almost unbearable. And I've had this one for a few years now. It's still kicking, it's getting a little bit beat up. But I kind of can't imagine riding during the winter without having a 6'5". So if you're riding in temperatures like 6 to 11 Celsius or 43 to 52 degrees Fahrenheit roughly, you could go with a 5'4" wetsuit. So something like this one right here is what I've been using. And you still need to wear the mitts, the boots, and the hood. And the nice thing about a wetsuit like this is if it does get colder, you can always layer up, kind of like you would for skiing or snowboarding. So, for example, you could add a layer underneath, like I have this thermal vest with a built-in hood that I actually wear underneath my hood and underneath that, and that kind of helps prevent any of the excess water that might splash in through the suit. This is going to keep you a bit warmer, and you can even get long sleeve versions of this. They have pants. There's this thermalite material that's kind of like long underwear for the water. So the 5'4" option, a lot more flexibility, a lot easier to get into. It's still kind of rigid, like you're not gonna feel like the 6'5" or like you're in a mummy suit, but you definitely are. I wouldn't say you're as flexible as if you were out there like in a 3-2 or something like that. But these are really useful to have. This is the one suit that I would choose if I had to choose one wetsuit, would be like just a 5'4". And that would get me through most of the year, and then having like a spring or a summer suit for those summer days where the water's a little bit brisk wouldn't be a terrible combo. Other features just to be aware of on suits like this, I do recommend if you're going out in colder temperatures to splurge and go all in on kind of a more high-end suit. I have gone for some of the cheaper suits before, like in the 5'4", and I feel like it always pays just to have something that's super warm, super flexible, and kind of the same thing with the front zip and the back zip. Having a front zip is a lot warmer, and you can see this one actually is a no zip. So this flap here will just fold over, and then it's actually tight, it locks in. The only time water gets in here is like when a wave hits and splashes through, but I haven't used a back zip wetsuit like in a thick suit, a winter suit, in probably a good 4 years now, because the front zips are just that much warmer. Other things to look out for would be having like these little drains right here. So if you do happen to get any water that flushes in, it's gonna drain out on your ankles. And the same thing applies if you're going out in colder temperatures. Make sure your wetsuit has tape seams, tape seals, and just is fairly waterproof, just so you're not getting super flushed out and freezing your face off when you're on the beach. And with a suit like this, in the kind of the colder range where you're kind of getting pushing back to those like the mid 40s, I find that it helps to move around a lot on the beach. You're not going to be warm if you're just standing there. You really got to be moving for these things to work. And when you're on the warmer side of the range for a suit like this, they're really warm, they're comfortable on the beach, you can hang out and relax. And personally, with a 5'4" like this, I'll even push this into like some of the summer months. So as long as it's not like 80 degrees, 70 degrees on the beach. So on the Great Lakes, a lot of times we can have summer days where it can be cold when it's windy and the water is kind of in that like 50-degree range, and sometimes the air will be like in the 60s. And even then, I could be using a thinner suit, but I enjoy having a 5'4" to keep me nice and toasty if I'm out there for a marathon session or something like that. So if the temps get into that 11 to 14 Celsius or 52 to 58 Fahrenheit for the water, you could go for like a 4'3" wetsuit. And a lot of people still like to wear the boots, the hood, the gloves, kind of until you get a bit closer to the 60-degree mark. And this is where you can kind of decide for yourself. You have to ask, what's your threshold for cold? Some people like wearing the 4'3" and they'll push it way past what it might be recommended for. I've had friends who've gone out in the middle of like maybe late December in a 4'3" with some layers and they felt comfortable. Personally, I like to wear the 5'4". I like to be warm when the waters get into that super cold temperature range, and you can decide for yourself. The nice thing about going for a 4'3" is they're super flexible, they're super easy to get in, and it really does make a big difference as you move up in the thickness of wetsuits. So wetsuits, like I said, they've come a long way in the last few years, especially in the last decade. If you haven't tried a wetsuit on in a long time, they're a lot more flexible. But going from a 3.2 to a 6 mil makes a huge difference. And then obviously as the water starts approaching 60, you can usually ditch the hood, the boots, the gloves, and air temperature kind of plays a role as well. So if the water's cold, if the air is super hot, you might not need some of those things. So for example, sometimes on the Great Lakes, even in the middle of summer, it might be like a 70-degree day with 40-degree water if the wind direction's right and we get some water from up north that kind of pushes down. It can happen. The water can just turn overnight and it can get really cold, and in those conditions I might not have a hood on, but I will have like a 5'4" or a 4'3" or something like that. So you can play with these different things to stay warm. And then once the water starts getting warm above like 15.5 Celsius or 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you can opt for a spring suit, a shorty. I'm gonna do a different video on kind of how to choose a spring suit and figuring out wetsuits for warmer climates a bit later. I'm heading down to Florida in a month here, so right around the time spring comes around, I'll drop that video when it's most useful. So on to the next point of kind of figuring out what's right for you. Some kiters will have just one wetsuit to cover themselves for whatever conditions they want to go in, and then if you have a bigger budget, you can mix and match different thicknesses. So you might have like a 6'4" and a 3'2" or a 4'3", and I would say if you're that rider who is on a tight budget and you can only get away with one wetsuit, go with the 5'4" or the 4'3". So with that 5'4", you're going to be sweating in the summer. You'll be kind of comfortable as well with the 4'3", but it's still going to be hot in the middle of summer. And then really it makes the biggest difference on the shoulder seasons. So you can push the season a bit further with that 5'4" and then layer up with the Thermalite, the extra layers underneath. You can even add an impact vest. So you can really push a 5'4" a long way in the cold temps. And that one's kind of on you and what your threshold is and what you want to do. So it wouldn't be terrible to do like a spring suit and a 5'4", and you'd be covered for the full range, and you could splurge and get a really nice high-end 5'4", and then get like a cheap 3'2" spring suit, shorty, whatever it is, for those warm summer days where the water's a bit brisk. And if you've got the budget for it and you really want to go all out, it's not horrible to have a 6'5'4", a 5'4", like a 3 mil, or doing 3 different suits for the different temperature ranges so that you'll be super comfortable whatever conditions you're facing. It's not that big of a deal just to pick 1, maybe 2 suits to get you across the whole spectrum. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. If you got any questions on wetsuits, drop it in the comment section or give the guys at the shop a call and they'll gladly walk you through it. So we'll catch you next time.